Have my brain tied behind my back just to make it fair. Rush Limbaugh doing what I was born to do. From the NBC website, First Look. It is NBC News' version of a early morning summary at the news. Supposedly the news. NBC's version of what's happening, what has happened, what's important. And there are many paragraphed items there, and here is one, about 4 or 5 into it. Another tough health care story for the White House. Another day, another story about how the White House was warned for weeks, if not months, that healthcare.gov had flaws. This one comes courtesy of the Washington Post. Quote, major insurers, state healthcare officials, and Democrat allies repeatedly warned the regime in recent months that the new federal health insurance exchange had significant problems, according to people familiar with the conversations. Despite those warnings, despite intense criticism from Republicans, the White House proceeded with the October 1st launch. The White House continues to claim that all of its website problems are simply traffic-related, but there are clearly plenty of people who think that it's more than that it was designed poorly. What does this mean? It means that the regime knew that healthcare.gov wasn't ready. They knew it couldn't handle a load. It also knew that its structure was flawed. Even if it could handle the load, it was not right. They went ahead and did it anyway, because it doesn't matter. I've gotten blue in the face, and I know if you're a 24-year-old frightened woman, this is going to scare you, but fact of the matter is, Obama himself doesn't care about details like this. He doesn't care what it ends up costing people. All that matters is what he will say about it and what will be reported about what he says, and therefore what you will be told to believe. The reality, he doesn't care. He really doesn't. And he hasn't for a long time, because Obamacare is not about improved health care or cheaper insurance or better treatment or insuring the uninsured, and it never has been about that. It's about statism. It's about expanding the government. It's about control over the population. It is about everything but health care. And that purpose has been served. It's the law, so now it doesn't matter whether it works. These are little details that we'll flesh out as it unrolls. It didn't matter whether it was ready. It didn't matter whether all the promises made were kept. That is irrelevant. Selling it, getting it passed and signed into law was all that mattered. Ditto the sequester. Ditto anything else. The president hasn't told the truth about much, and yesterday in his press conference he continued. The whoppers yesterday, folks, I can't let go of this. He talked yesterday in his press conference about the default and how it's going to happen. We're not going to default. We take in more, sufficiently more money every month via tax revenue than we are required to pay to service the debt. That's about $18 billion. And we take in $250 billion. We're nowhere near a default, even if we don't raise the debt ceiling. And he knows it. But it doesn't matter. The truth is not what matters. What matters is what he can make you think, along with his media friends, of the Republicans. That's all that matters. When it comes to Obamacare, what it is, in reality, is irrelevant. The fact that it doesn't work doesn't matter. It's the law now. It's an achievement. It's an accomplishment the Democrats have sought for 50 years. Doesn't work. Even the media is onto it. Washington Examiner, Obamacare still broken. Website says, try back in a few days. Over a week after Obamacare kicked in, the healthcare.gov computer system still blocking insurance applicants due to major glitches in traffic, prompting a live chat room host on the government's website to suggest that it would be best just wait a few days. Secrets, that's the name of the column here, attempted to again on Wednesday, to enter the system, but within 2 minutes, a red line crossed the computer screen reading, "Important. Your account couldn't be created at this time. The system is unavailable." Another story from something called The Federalist. Obamacare rollout, a case study in government ineptitude. And let me just read you 3 pull quotes from this story. The first one: the healthcare.gov snafu illustrates the core incompetency of the federal government. Because of how it's structured and because of who it attracts, it is simply incapable of doing much of anything that the private sector can do. If the private sector's motto is faster, better, cheaper, then the federal government's would have to be slower, worse, and crazy expensive. Second pull quote: so what gives? How is it that the president, who gave us an unquestionably brilliant campaign tech team, couldn't deliver the goods for a simple government-run website that lists healthcare plans? It's pretty simple, one federal information technology contractor said. The government's not exactly hiring the best of the best to manage and develop these projects. It's not like they're bringing in people from Facebook or Google. The private sector gets the best. The government gets the rest. Another little quote. Another major problem goes beyond the tech talent itself to the people who manage the developers. One common complaint I heard was unclear yet constantly changing contract requirements. I can't tell you, this is a quote, I can't tell you how many times I'd be 90% done with one requested task only to have it changed at the last minute to something completely different, the contractor told me. Most of the time, I never had the chance to go back and finish the last 10%. It is an utter disaster. The Weekly Standard: Obamacare Marketplace, personal data can be used for law enforcement and audit activities. Obamacare has not so hidden provisions that allow them to give all of your health information to the police and to the IRS anytime they want. And all your emails to Obamacare about private matters, those will be shared by the government as well. Jacksonville, Illinois Journal-Courier News: growing concerns about identity theft and fraud have led the Illinois Department of Insurance to issue a public warning just as the new health insurance exchanges enter their implementation phase. Concern focuses on those charged with assisting Illinoisans with enrollment in the new exchange, the so-called navigators. Navigators are going to have access to people's personally identifiable information, the information necessary for identity theft. It's an utter disaster. CBS News is piled on now. Washington Post is piled on. NBC. I mean, they're at least they're reporting it. They're not condemning it. They're just reporting, and they're concerned. They're worried. See, these are the true believers. The Obama media people actually believe this was designed to work. They actually think it's going to be the best thing going. They actually think it's going to lower cost. They actually think it's going to insure the 30 million uninsured. They actually believe all the crap that they're told because they're good people. They have big hearts, and they have good intentions, and they have lots of compassion. And they believe all this tripe. And they believe the government does it better than anybody else. They believe the government should. So here comes a smooth talker like Obama promising the moon. They eat it up. And then when it doesn't happen, they're genuinely worried. They don't want their guy to look bad. They don't want Obama to look bad. They don't want the Democrat Party to look bad. This is not the way it was supposed to be. And they're like anybody else. They go to any website, private sector, and it works. Amazon, iTunes, you name it, they go there, it works. This doesn't. This just doesn't work. Ashley Dion is a 26-year-old Michigan University student. She sent a letter. Who does she send this? She sent this letter to Dennis Prager, my old buddy from Los Angeles. She said, "My name is Ashley Dion. I'm a 26-year-old recent graduate from Michigan. The phony Obamacare sign-up poster boy made me want to send a message about how Obamacare is really affecting people. I graduated from the University of Michigan in 2009. In my state, that used to mean something. But even with a bachelor's degree, I was told I was too educated and wouldn't stay. I watched as kids with GEDs and Haskell diplomas took the low-paying jobs for which I applied. I went back to school. I got a second degree, finally found work at a gymnasium. I worked nights. I only get 32 hours a week for $8 an hour. I am unable to find a second job at this time. I have asthma, ulcers, mild cerebral palsy. Obamacare takes my monthly rate from $75 a month for full coverage on my young adult plan to $319 a month after $6,000 in deductibles. What Ashley Dion is describing here is what happened to her when she left the nest. Because all kids eventually become 27 years old, and at that point they're no longer covered by mom and dad. And they're finding that with Obamacare, they're going broke. And this woman wrote Prager a note about it. Liberals claimed, she writes, that this law would help the poor. Well, I am the poor. I'm the working poor. And I can't afford to support myself, let alone older generations and people not willing to work at all. And then she writes, Obamacare has raped my future. It'll keep me and people my age from having a future at all. This is the real face of Obamacare, and it isn't pretty. In a statement to the website Campus Reform, she clarified her reason for writing the letter. She said, I wanted to get my message about Obamacare out because I'm being directly and negatively affected by it. And I know it's not just me. Obamacare is going to make my life more difficult. It will hurt people more than it'll help. 2009 graduate, University of Michigan. 2012 graduate, Baker College. She can't afford it. She can't find work that pays more than $8 an hour and 32 hours a week. The new America. I don't know if she voted for Obama or not. It doesn't say. It doesn't sound like she did. It sounds like she was predisposed to knowing what this was all about, but maybe didn't realize how bad it was. But I'm just guessing. I don't know who she voted for. Probably shouldn't speculate. Let's take a time out. We'll be back and continue after this.